Hi, RVers, travelers, wanderlusters, birth junkies, and just random people who found this video. Uh, 2 weeks ago, we posted the RV home birth of our son, and we've already got 15,000 views on it, and so much love and shares and comments. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for the support, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my birth history and why we chose an RV home birth. My oldest son was born in a hospital. He was a medically unnecessary induction. They told me he was going to be 10 pounds, and he was born 6 pounds 9 ounces. And I still get a little bit angry when I think about that. The induction was very traumatic. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. And he was born via cesarean because of the failed induction and the healing process, and I ended up staying for 5 days in the hospital. We had infections, we had issues, and basically it was just a no good, very bad birth experience that I didn't want to relive when we got pregnant with our second. So I had done a ton of research and decided we were going to have a midwife. We were living in a sticks and bricks in Central Florida, and in Florida you cannot have a VBAC, which stands for vaginal birth after cesarean, in a birth center because somebody made up that rule. So your options are hospital or home. And so we chose home. And the first midwife we hired wanted a sonogram done of the scar tissue of inside my uterus, and she told me that there was a window and that I could not home birth and that she would not even accompany me at the hospital. So we promptly fired her and found a new midwife. Her name is Katie, and she's the one you see in our birth video with Jeremiah as well. She really fought for us. She really had to fight to get our birth records from the first midwife, or our medical records from the first midwife. So that's kind of another red flag there. We decided to do some research on windows, and we felt comfortable that just because the uterus has a window doesn't mean it's going to split. And spoiler alert, nothing happened. So her birth was, almost 24 hours, and it was back labor. And my husband applied counter pressure to my sacrum the whole time, and I could breathe through it. And compared to the birth video that we uploaded, I actually felt like it was much easier. I felt really out of control with Jeremiah's birth. My water broke at 2 a.m. and then he was born at 9 a.m. and so the contractions were hard and I felt just completely out of control. It felt like wild. So every birth is different. But yeah, so back to why we chose the RV. Well, I wanted the same midwife. She fought for me. She made my VBAC happen. She basically was my hero, and so I couldn't see picking another midwife while we were on the road, just so that way we could stay on the road, She was the first person we called when we found out we were pregnant. We had sold everything we owned, moved into the RV, and I started feeling a little nauseous. But not like nauseous like I had with my other 2 pregnancies, just kind of subtly nauseous. So I looked at my husband and I said, "This thing has mold. I don't feel good." And he said, "Why don't you take a pregnancy test?" And he always knows I'm pregnant before me. So 7 days after we sold everything we owned and moved into the RV, we found out we were pregnant with our very first surprise baby. So the first person we called was Katie, the midwife, and this is what happened. So she encouraged us to get a sonogram done so that way we could feel confident with our home birth that everything was copacetic, all the internal organs were good, and baby was, perfect. So, but we didn't find out the gender. And we continued traveling until I was 28 weeks pregnant. And during that time, I had a Doppler so I could, check on the baby. And we did blood pressure and, listened to my body and did prenatals and ate well. And, it was a very good experience. There are some people who travel and they do see OB-GYNs and they do that. That just isn't for me. So that's what we did, and I would call her if I had concerns, and it was a really great pregnancy. I was only nauseous for like 1 month, so that was awesome. And let's see what else. So by 28 weeks, we went back to Florida and saw her every 2 weeks, and then every week, and then he was born exactly 42 weeks gestation. So that's interesting to note. And there was 6 inches of space between the couch and the pool, as you can see. That is the original size La Bassine, I hope I'm saying that correctly, inflatable birth pool. And if you have any questions about that, go ahead and just ask away, or you know what all we use to Instant Pot to heat up the water, because we only have a 6-gallon tank water heater. And in the video, you'll see my mother from another brother is in the booth. You can sometimes see her foot, and she picks up Grace at the end, so that way Grace can see Jeremiah being born. And our doula, her name is Serenity, and her service is Births with Serenity, and she was just amazing. It was the first birth experience I ever had with a doula, and I highly recommend it. In the video, you can see I'm like, vomit, and then she's like, boom, bucket, right there in like 0.5 seconds. It was amazing. And my husband, of course, who has always been my best friend and coach. And then our big boy woke up at the very end when he heard Jeremiah crying. He said he was dreaming about goats, like wild goats hollering, and that apparently I sounded like a wild goat giving birth. And on the couch is our midwife, Katie. Her service is Wonderfully Made Midwifery. And her assistant kind of pops out from underneath the camera with a blanket at the end. And I honestly don't remember her assistant's name, but she was kind of just there for Katie. And it was just a really wonderful experience. I'm very happy that we chose to see Katie again, go back to Florida. We left 6 weeks postpartum after she did the, postnatal exams, and everything was great with Jeremiah. His health was perfect. He did have a little bit of jaundice, but that's nothing that a little bit of sunshine didn't fix right up. And I just, I really hope that the video that we shared has encouraged and inspired women to look at all of their options in birth, and not just choose a hospital or a birth center because they feel that they have to, but rather choose whatever empowers them to have the best birth that they can.